And now, the B Plus Wrestling Podcast. Watch global. Support local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The moves.
You might not be an A, but you are a B plus.
Check it out! Here we go! You wanna mess with us? Cause we're steady on the ground, steady on the ground. You wanna mess with us? Cause we're steady on the ground.
Hello, and welcome to the Wrestling Landscape Podcast. I am your host, Lance Larson. The Wrestling Landscape Podcast is the casual wrestling podcast, the informal wrestling podcast, and it is back, baby. After a bit of a 2-week hiatus, after SummerSlam weekend, we put out a Wrestling Rewind episode not too long ago. Putting out this one here, and hopefully we will be back in the normal rhythm of things going forward. Of which I should probably articulate, I am anticipating doing a Wednesday Night Wars episode every week, obviously talking AEW Dynamite or whatever the fuck they end up calling it, and NXT every week. I do plan on doing it a few days after it happens to make sure we have any news on ratings, injuries of the night, etc., etc. Also keep up with New Japan as it happens. And to be completely honest, beyond that, I'm going to take it as it comes. Work's gotten a little busier the last few months for me. So I'll try to keep up with as many US pay-per-views as possible. WWE, MLW, now that they've started in November. Ring of Honor, Impact, and so forth. And I'll do Lucha episodes when I can. But really, that's kind of the game plan. Really, what we're going to be focusing on is NXT, AEW, New Japan. And obviously keep up with everything else as we can. Listen, even if wrestling podcasting was my full-time job, I still wouldn't have time to watch everything I want. Let alone when I do have a full-time job. And this is just a hobby. So, with that out of the way, let's jump back into this fall season of Wrestling Landscape. Today's episode, we are reviewing NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, which is the longest fucking wrestling name, and AEW All Out. I will hopefully have a Royal Quest review in a week or so. I don't even fucking know. There was a million issues with Fight, as you all know. And so between that, by the time I hit New Japan World, my own personal schedule, nothing really came into place for me to watch it this past weekend. So, I will hopefully have a review of that for you whenever the fuck I get to it. This is my podcast. You don't like waiting for it, start your own podcast. Okay, jumping into NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. This was this past Saturday, August the 31st in Cardiff, Wales. Obviously, it's in the name. It was a 6-match show, which was surprising. There were 2 matches taped beforehand to be TV this upcoming week, as is the same with NXT US shows, or North American shows, or NXT proper, or whatever the fuck you want to call the original NXT brand show. This takeover, though, had 6 matches, but it was still 3 hours. So, don't know how I necessarily feel about that, because the main event took a long time, but the semi-main was pretty short. We'll get to that as we go along. Opening contest on the TakeOver card was Noam Dar defeating Travis Banks. So this was real solid. They kept the match moving. There's no major mistakes. Nothing bored me. I gave it 3 1/4 just because of... It was fine. It was fun. It opened. I also didn't understand a few weeks ago, maybe it was a long ago, I can't remember, why the story pivoted into Noam Dar versus Travis Banks when they were very clearly building Noam Dar versus Kenny Williams for a long time. And all of a sudden Travis Banks is in the mix, and that's who Dar's feuding with. I don't know what happened. I don't know if Kenny got hurt. I don't know if the office soured on Kenny or whatever the fuck. But it just seemed weird that they kept building to Dar Williams and then just didn't do it. Like 3 weeks out or whatever, they just pivoted off into Dar Banks to just have an opening match on TakeOver. So, I don't know. I would assume we're going to get Dar Williams sometime. That feud was clearly going, unless they're going to turn Williams and make him a tag team. But they had better have a real good idea or a reason as to why they didn't do Dar Williams here. Because Dar Banks came out of nowhere with just a few weeks up before the takeover. Or a month or so. I can't even fucking remember what it was. But it was fine. Didn't offend me. It contributed to an overall strong card, I thought. Moving on into the second match, we had Cesaro... Oh, Noam Dar won, by the way. So, I don't know where they're going with that. Next, we had Cesaro versus Ilya Dragunov. Cesaro had said that he was going to make an appearance at NXT UK TakeOver. Ilya saw him in the back, made eye contact, came out to the ring and challenged him, and Cesaro came out to a big pop. So this was very well worked, very tight match, well paced, was never bored at any second during the match. I give it 3 3/4. I thought it was a damn good match. I really enjoyed it. Both these guys were very, very solid. This match did not blow me out of the water, but it was so smartly paced, I thought, for the time that it had, that there was never a single point where I wanted to grab my phone, or I thought, oh geez, I know exactly what's happening next. On top of that, Cesaro had this insanely long swing spot, which on one level is cool, and because it was legit like 40 seconds or whatever the fuck. And so because that was so unique, he never does it for that long. It was intriguing. But if he did that spot, like that, a 45-second swing spot, more than twice a year, it would get pretty annoying. And even if he did it twice a year, that might be too much. So I'm glad this is a thing that doesn't happen a lot. Cesaro beat Ilya Dragunov, which I didn't understand. Now, I get it. He's not on the main roster. Of course he's gonna win. That's dumb! This is UK! This is NXT UK! Ilya Dragunov seems like something they want to groom for an important position on the brand. I've predicted he's gonna be the one to uncrown Walter. I think he'd be a great fit for it. Fits with some stories they told in WXW. But he's losing to Cesaro. I almost said job, and this was... Technically, yes, he jobbed, but jobbing's too strong of a word in this situation. Why Ilya can't get a big win here over Cesaro, I don't know. Cesaro went on and just lost to Miz this past Monday Night on Raw. It's not like they're doing anything important with him. It's not like this loss would have hurt Cesaro at all, but a win could have really helped Ilya. I think Ilya should have won. Moving on. Triple threat tag team match for the NXT UK tag team titles. The defending champs, Grizzled Young Veterans, defending against Gallus and Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. Now, longtime listeners of both the Wrestling Landscape podcast and the B Plus podcast will know not a big fan of triple threat title matches when they're not elimination. I think if there's a title... I'm fine with triple threat matches. I'm fine with Fatal 4 matches, Fatal 5 ways, all that jazz. If they're a title match, then I think they need to be elimination. Because a pin happening that doesn't involve the champs is just weird to me. It's just weird. So I think if it's a championship triple threat, it needs to be elimination. So that was an issue I had, just with the premise of the match. What made it worse is that they do this all the time, is that when the match started, and as the match progressed, there was only 2 legal men. It's a triple threat tag match. In a triple threat singles match, you don't only have 2 legal men and someone has to tag in, because that's fucking dumb. In a triple threat tag match, why aren't there 3 legal men? Now, I get it, because then laying out that match can be a nightmare sometimes, because that's 6 people with 3 legal men. I get that that's hard, but it doesn't make any fucking sense for there not to be 3 legal men. Make it 3 legal men! So that. Now, listen. Those gripes I had with the logic of the premise of this match are minor. Like, this was a killer match. I really liked this match. I gave it 4 1/4. So obviously those holes in logic did not prevent me from being entertained at all. But I think those are things to be mindful moving forward. I think those are things to be mindful for any promotion. I know a lot of people just think it's wrestling, these details don't matter, and because it's pro wrestling, you can just overlook them, and it's not a big deal as long as you're entertained. Now, sure, I get that that's true a lot of the time, but just looking at wrestling history, too many details overlooked can be built up to be problematic. I think WCW taught us, but that's also an extreme example because of how many leaps or gaps in logic there were. But on top of that, look at the St. Louis territory and the NWA as a whole under Sam Muchnick, and look at those things when he stepped away. Muchnick paid a shit ton of attention to details. Even in an era when it would have been a lot easier to ignore some, because there was no internet. But in Sam's world, nothing happened till it happened. If there was a title change and he knew about it ahead of time, they wouldn't announce it until it happened. Wouldn't change programs until it happened. If there was an issue with a ref in a single match that had a dusty finish, I don't even know if it was called that in the 70s, probably not. Then on the rematch, there would be a second ref on the outside to make sure that the ref in the ring didn't miss something this time. Just little things like that. So, little logic things like this, I think need to be paid attention to. Now, listen. This is WWE. Having 2 legal men in a triple threat tag team match instead of 3 is not in any way, shape, or form going to hinder business for the WWE. Or any company that does it, really. I just think the less attention we pay to logic as a whole in this business, the more detriments there are. This is a small thing. But lots of small things that add up can hurt a company, promotion, this industry. I get I'm making a mountain out of a mud hole, and truly it wasn't that big a deal for me. Obviously, I gave this match 4 1/4. But it's little things like this that I like to be paid attention to that really increase my enjoyment of wrestling. So in the future, if these things could be paid attention to, I would enjoy these things a hell of a lot more. Rant fucking over. Now, this match, past those things that I mentioned, was fucking killer. It was worked brilliantly, I think, towards the end, to tease the Grizzled Young Veterans retaining, and they didn't, which was great. The hometown boys, the Welsh fellows of Mandrews and Flash, got the belts, which was great. I still don't understand why this match wasn't 2-on-2. The Grizzled Young Veterans are over heels, the crowd boos them everywhere they go, and so if they were going up against Mandrews and Flash, 2-on-2, I just felt like it would have been a much simpler match dynamic, because the crowd would have been so wholeheartedly behind the Welshmen, and so wholeheartedly against the Grizzled Young Veterans. I don't know Gallus' role in this match. Now, I think the match was laid out smartly with these 3 teams. I think they used Gallus well in the match, but I don't see their necessity into it. Like, I don't get why Mandrews and Flash couldn't have just won a lot of matches over the last 8 weeks of NXT UK TV instead of Gallus, and so they were just the natural number 1 contenders for Grizzled Young Veterans. And it was just a 2-on-2 match. Maybe they can defend against Gallus afterwards. Like, I don't get that. Why couldn't that have just happened? Now, I don't know if they're trying to protect the 2-on-2 match. I don't know what they're saving it for. Like, who the fuck knows when their next takeover is? Maybe they're planning a taping in Wales that they want to save that match for, which I suppose would make sense. But beyond one of those things, or really beyond that, unless they have a taping in Wales coming up that they have yet to announce that they're saving that match for, I still don't know why the hell this wasn't a 2-on-2 match. Then you could have just had the babyfaces move on to defend against Gallus as their next contenders. Makes sense to me. That way we can avoid all this triple threat paraphernalia. Paraphernalia is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm griping on this match, and I actually loved it. The work was great. I thought it was creative as hell. I thought they brilliantly laid out the match to give Gallus a real role in it. And it was fun. This was great. This was the second best match of the night. I really liked it. 4 1/4. I know we said a lot of shit on it, but I really, really liked it. Next, we're moving on to Joe Coffey, defeating Dave Mastiff in a last man standing match. So this was a very different match from the one that came before it, which was good. You want that diversity on a card. And I really enjoyed the first half of it when they were brawling inside the ring and just outside the ring on the floor. And it was just a brutal and visceral's not the right word. You just felt like how tough it was. And you really felt like these guys were taking a beating. So I was really into it at the start. And then once they got into the crowd, got a little boring. Spent a little too much time out there. Got a little contrived. The whole running spot with the chairs was fine, but it's just when it was surrounded by all that stuff going on in the crowd, which wasn't anything special, I was a little taken out of it. And then when they get to the announce table stuff, it's taken too long. That one big bump was cool, but it almost wasn't even the finish because they both started getting up. And then fucking Joe Coffey kicks out the, I don't even know what to call this, like some of the sound equipment that Dave Mastiff was using to stand up. He just kicked it out from under him and Dave Mastiff fell at like the 9 count and Coffey won. Like, that's so fucking dumb. Just end on a big bump. Why can't Joe Coffey just do a big ass move to Dave Mastiff through the announcer's table or through those 2 tables that they both took the same bump through anyway and just have Coffey win? Why can't you just end on a big bump? This is like that dumbass finish at the Last Man Standing match between Gargano and Ciampa, however many months ago that was. Was that earlier this year? I can't even remember. I hated that. End a Last Man Standing match on a really cool move or a really big bump or something. Not this whole, I'm gonna kick out the sound equipment from underneath them. That's fucking dumb. Incredibly flat finish. That said, right after I watched this match, I gave it 3 1/4. And most of that's just for the work that I enjoyed in the first half. Now, as I'm talking about it, I feel like 3 1/4 is kind of high. I know the folks on Grapple, which you can find on GRAPPL, the Grapple app. I believe they gave it shorter. I should have pulled up that number before I started recording, but I didn't. You can deal with it. So as I'm talking about it, I feel like maybe 3 1/4 is a little high, but it's what I wrote down after I watched it. It's also important for me to remember that I'm watching some of these matches in the context of also recently having watched 1997 WCW. So it's a lot easier for me to give a match like this 3 1/4 than maybe if I wasn't watching some of those old school matches. Next, we get to the match that was probably the biggest disappointment to me on the weekend. It was Kaylee Ray defeating Toni Storm to win the women's title, which I was fine with the result, especially if they're moving Toni Storm over to NXT proper. But why was the match so short? Were one of them sick? Was the show running long and they wanted to make sure they kept it a tight 3 hours and made sure that the men got 40 minutes in the main event? I'm trying to wrap my head around this match and why it was the way it was. Now, I think a lot of the things that we got were good, but it didn't have any time to tell any kind of story that I felt like it had the right to tell. These are 2 excellent workers. They were trying to make a somewhat personal feud going into it, with Kaylee Ray calling out Toni Storm's, father, walking out on her, whatever the fuck. I just don't know why it was so short. You didn't need 6 matches. You could have done 5 on this show. I don't know, man. I don't know. I want to give NXT UK the benefit of the doubt, and just like day of, one of them had the flu or whatever, and they made the call to just go really short or whatever the fuck. I don't know, man. But it was disappointing. Would be a good adjective. I expected a lot more because Kaylee Ray and Toni Storm are both very, very good. On top of that, Toni Storm's finisher was kicked out in like 5 minutes. However the fuck early it was. I don't know what happened. I give it 2 3/4 just out of respect for like the stuff that we did get in the short period of time. But obviously, I expected a whole hell of a lot more. So, whatever. Now, main event. It's Walter defending the WWE UK Championship against Tyler Bate. This match was really long, which gives you that same kind of vibe of when some of those NXT proper TakeOver matches feel a little excessive, a little self-indulgent. If I can borrow some of these adjectives from other wrestling journalists. Definitely got that vibe on this one. That they went into this thing and, oh, we're going to have classic, an epic. And so they went out to have an epic. And don't get me wrong, this was a fucking fantastic match. I really fucking liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. Bates' selling in this match was absolutely unreal. Motherfucker was acting like he got shot. It's fucking great. The crowd obviously added to this match. Listen, if the crowd was not into this match, and this motherfucker went 43 minutes, whatever the fuck it was, the last 20 minutes of this match would have felt like death. If the crowd wasn't into it. But the crowd was super fucking into it. So this match felt fucking awesome. Really, really like this match. Really recommend this match to basically anyone. I know there are certain pockets of wrestling fans that won't like this kind of match for various reasons. That's fine. Wrestling is subjective. You don't have to like anything. You don't have to dislike anything. But I think most wrestling fans would like this. This was a damn good match. After Bate lost, Walter retained, by the way, which was the smart choice. I think the belt needs to be on him for a while until you have the right babyface to take it off him. I think Walter having the belt should be the default stance until you find the right babyface to take it off him. Whether it's Devlin, whether it's Dragunov, whether it's someone else they haven't signed yet, whatever. Walter needs to have the belt until they have the right babyface. I think Dragunov could be the one. Devlin could be the one. But the story has to be right, the timing has to be right. So, after Bate lost, Trent Seven and Pete Dunne came out to help him up, console him, and get cheered by the crowd. This almost felt like a goodbye for British Strong Style from the UK brand. NXT's going live on the USA every single week. They need stars. British Strong Style sure is over as fuck to the Full Sail crowd. NXT is in a war. They need the faces they can get. And so if that's Tony Storm and British Strong Style moving over, which I think it might be, it would make sense. And the results on the show would also make sense with that. It's not a prediction, I just think it's a possibility. At this point, I would not be surprised to see those four on NXT regularly moving forward. Now, Pete Dunne, I thought I saw a report that he is planning on moving to Orlando and joining the NXT brand proper. I thought I'd heard that report that he's doing that. I think the rest of British Strong Style might be doing it. I think Tony Storm might be doing it. Because those are really talented wrestlers that they could use in the NXT brand going live on USA. So, really awesome match. Really, this whole show, I really, really enjoyed overall. I mean, the lowest rated match was 2 3/4, and the highest rated was 4.5. Like, that's a damn good show, you know? And it's 3 hours, so it's not too long. Thumbs up show for me, without a doubt. Would recommend this whole show top to bottom, but particularly the tag title match and the WWE UK title match to most anyone. Okay, we're going to talk about AEW All Out. Before we do, grab some alcohol from my freezer. It is birthday cake flavored vodka. Yes, that's right. You heard me right. I'm going to take a shot of this because there's no way in hell I'm putting it over ice and drinking it. So, let's see how this goes. Ooh. Ooh. I guess I chased that with water. You can really taste the birthday cake. Oh, criminy.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B Plus podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today. Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, OUTBREAK NUTRITION. OUTBREAK NUTRITION are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at OUTBREAK NUTRITION. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OUTBREAKNutrition.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OUTBREAKNutrition.com, enter the code B+ at checkout.
Okay, AEW All Out. Saturday, August 31st. Hoffman Estates, Illinois, just outside Chicago. The buy-in, I think that's what the show called in the pre-show, isn't it? The buy-in? We had the 21-person casino battle royale to determine one of the challengers in the first ever AEW Women's Championship match. Which, how dumb is it? They have two singles titles in this company. One's a men's title, one's a women's title, but they don't call the men's title the men's title. They call it the world title. Think about that. They have a world title for the men and a women's title for the women. That's fucking dumb. How fucking hard is it to just call it the men's title? That's what college basketball does. They have NCAA men's basketball, NCAA women's basketball. That's what tennis does. That's what soccer does. How fucking hard is this? Anyway. Now, this battle royale, which I still don't know how I feel about the 5 coming out at a time. That still feels like no one's a star when they do that. So I'm not saying I'm against this idea. I'm just saying maybe it needs to be tweaked. But this one was much better than the men's one at Double or Nothing in May. I don't think there's really anyone that would disagree with that. This Casino Battle Royale was much more entertaining than that one. I am thrilled that Mercedes Martinez got the pop she did for being lucky number 21. That made me really happy. I'm a big Mercedes Martinez fan. I have gone on this podcast before and have talked about how shocked I am that she was not signed in the midst of all these other women getting signed. Like, I can't imagine Women of Honor wouldn't have wanted her. Can't imagine AEW wouldn't have wanted her. Can't imagine WWE wouldn't have wanted her. I was baffled she was not, or Impact. And MLW doesn't have a women's division yet, but apparently they're working on it. Was baffled she wasn't signed. So I hope this leads to her being signed, with her being featured as number 21 and getting her own entrance and shit. I hope that's what that means, but we'll fucking see. Nyla Rose won this one. And I don't know how I feel about her winning. Now, with the Hikaru Shida and Riho match later on, it was clear that they have, a direction they're going in, a story they're going with. But this just, it doesn't quite feel right. Because she hadn't gotten a singles win before this. She lost the Fatal 4-Way at Double or Nothing. She lost the Triple Threat at, what was that, Fyter Fest? Was she even in Fight for the Fallen? I don't think she was. So it's just weird then that she wins this and she has a title shot. Felt bizarre. So storyline, there's that issue. But secondly, just AEW has plenty of women that are more talented than Nyla Rose, I think. And there are more women that they don't have signed, bafflingly enough, that are better than her too. And so this idea that I have for this company that maybe I just need to let go of, that a general rule is the better wrestlers get pushed. Now, this is the first title match, obviously, of many, 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 many to come. And they lost Kylie Ray to mysterious reasons. Not even going to jump into that. And so their better wrestlers that they were pushing really is Riho. That they have for, a real amount of time. Yuka Sakazaki's not under any kind of long-term contract. Hikaru Shida is, but she was only in that 6-woman tag at Double or Nothing and on this show. So, I guess they could have pushed her, and Shida Riho could have been for the first world title match. Maybe they should have done that. Maybe Shida should have won this Battle Royal. But, we'll see. I want wrestling companies to focus, especially on their title scenes, on the best wrestlers they have. Now, obviously, the best wrestlers they have aren't going to be champs all the time. They're not going to be challenging all the time. You can't have the same 3-4 people constantly challenging and defending for the title. You need some kind of variance. I get that. So maybe they're starting outside of that top 4. Maybe losing Kylie Ray really threw that for a loop. Maybe they were concerned about Britt Baker's concussion and decided to make a change before she was cleared. I don't know. But I just want the title picture to focus on the best wrestlers they have. With few exceptions. I hope this is one of those few exceptions. And that in the future, the title really is focused on the best wrestlers they have. In this case, which I believe would be Hikaru Shida. Kylie Ray's out. Mercedes Martinez, if they signed her. Bea Priestley. I've never seen Sadie Gibbs wrestle. But I hear she's very good. Riho, which it obviously is the first place. Yuka Sakazaki, if they can bring her back. Nakajima, if they can bring her back. So on and so forth. So, kind of how I feel about that. Bea Priestley, Britt Baker, obviously incoming. A logically booked feud extender, if I can say so myself. They were hot after their tag match at Fight for the Fallen. That continued here. It made sense. I liked it. Clearly they're leading to a 1-on-1 match. I don't know if they're saving that for their pay-per-view in November. That feels a little long to me. I think it's hot enough that it would do good ratings on TV. I'd use it on TV sometime in the first 3 weeks. Maybe not week 1. Because you want some more time to have for them to have promos against each other, but I think that would be a good match. I think it's exciting. I think people want to see that. I give this match a Gentleman's 3. Which, spoiler alert, is my lowest rated match of the evening. So it's only up from here. The second match on the pre-show, I spent a lot of time talking on that Battle Royal, was Private Party defeating Angelico and Jack Evans. Real good. A few splotches, but nothing too bad. Thought it was very creative. There was a minute or two in the heat segment that just came to a screeching halt, where it felt like 2 moves happened in 120 seconds. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they got lost or that was just the plan all along and it was just a rest 2 minutes or whatever the fuck. But it felt really weird. But Private Party was the right team to win here. They're the team that it feels like, they're long-term pushing. Whereas Angelico and Jack Evans are just there to be a supporting act, which is fine. Wrestling companies need those. There's nothing wrong with those. And it's not like Angelico and Jack Evans are much better than the rest of the folks they are pushing. Which is why I'm okay with them being supporting acts. Now, I want them in the title picture eventually. I don't want them to, never challenge or anything. I think they're good. I enjoy watching them. But I don't want the tag team division built around them. Because I think there's 3 or 4 teams better. Private Party's one of them. Best Friends is one of them. SCU. Young Bucks. Lucha Bros. AEW sadly missed out on signing A-Kid and Carlos Romo, which breaks my heart. They could still sign Aussie Open, I suppose. I don't know why they haven't. They could still sign World Beaters. The Untouchables. Damon Slater's the World Beater. Him and his tag team partner, Marcius Pitt. The Untouchables. Be an excellent signing. The Chilean Empire. A lot of good tag teams around the world. They don't seem to be paying attention, which breaks my heart. I liked the match. I went 3 3/4 on it. The post-match, I thought was dumb. Private Party gets the win. And Helico and Jack Evans attack them afterwards. Why? That's a WWE move. No one really gets over if after one team wins, the losing team just attacks them afterwards, and they're the ones standing tall after the match. It really negates the feeling that Private Party was the superior team. Now we know they got the win, with how much AEW is going to focus on records, which they did put records next to people's names when they come out to the ring. So obviously it's going to be a thing. So I get that the win probably matters more, but you don't really leave that segment feeling like Private Party's this hot team that can accomplish stuff. Now I get that they have a long-term plan for Private Party, that they're still very new to the company, and really in general, still new to the business. So it's not like it hurts them, but it's just like, these are the little dumb things that WWE does that you really want its competition, its alternative, quote-unquote, to avoid. So, but overall, I like the match 3 3/4. We get to the main card. We had a video package for Wardlow. No idea who he is. He's an indie guy from the Northeast, I found out. I didn't like that video package. It didn't make me excited to see him. I'm giving AEW the benefit of the doubt that if they signed this indie guy, he's good. So I want to see him. I'm curious to see him, but I'm not excited to see him, if that makes sense. Curious, not excited. On the main card, we'll open with a 6-man tag, SCU versus Lucha Express, the team of Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, and Jungle Boy. This was a crazy match. Super fun. Crowd loved it. I loved it. Luchasaurus is over as fuck. This motherfucker is out here doing 9 spots in a row, and it's fucking great. It's entertaining as hell. Really like this match. Tons of cool moves. This was definitely a moves match, and I am here for it. Give me hot 6-mans with tons of cool moves. I don't need a super long heat segment with a hot tag, and then a second heat segment with a second hot tag, and then a climax and a finish. I am just fine. In fact, I prefer these 6-mans earlier in the card that are just a bunch of cool moves. I am fucking fine with that. That's fucking great. That's entertaining. I'm here for it. I gave this match 4 stars. I had a ton of fun watching it. I had a blast watching it. It was great. My only question was, should SCU have won? Lucha Express is the younger team. They're the baby faces. It's the opening match to the main card. Kind of just felt more natural for the baby faces to get the win. I don't know if long term they have a plan to introduce trios titles. There are pros and cons to that I won't get into now. So if they are, SCU would be a natural fit to the first trios champions. Lucha Express chase them. But that seems to be down the pipeline, because it seems like the next title's introducing, obviously they're crowning their singles women's champion next. Then they'll be crowning the men's tag titles. Tony Khan has explicitly come out and said that there will be women's tag titles. So that would seem to be the 4th set of titles they're introducing. So it would be a while before they got around to trios tag belts. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that this probably isn't playing into that, although it could be. I just gotta think Lucha Express is gonna get the win back down the road. I don't know why you'd put SCU over here. But, right now, AEW has a lot of good faith with me. They're gonna get the benefit of the doubt. Next, we have Pac defeating Kenny Omega. Really good. Great action. There was a botch close to the finish that I felt really hurt it. Which wasn't... kind of really took me out of it because the finish was so close. It really would have helped if they could have had another cool sequence or two in between the botch and the finish, but whatever. The submission out of nowhere finish was, like, I get it, you're getting that move over, but I don't know why you can't do that on TV with Pac tapping out a couple of mid-carders with that move. You know, weeks 2 and 3 of TV, and that move is established. You know, and then his next pay-per-view match, he can win with that move. Because it felt really flat here. Now, that move is now established, I get that. That work was all done in one night, but it still came off so flat that I don't know if that was the right call. Now, it could have been. Obviously, a small thing like that's not going to hurt the company, so maybe it is smarter to just accomplish all of that in one match. But it's what happened. I gave this match 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. If it wasn't for that botch, if the finish came off stronger, I would have gone higher, and I would have gone higher easily. But even for what it was to give it 4 stars. So Kenny is 1-2 in singles matches. I believe, and I've heard other people espouse this as well, Kenny's going to be in a long-form chase for that AEW title from Jericho, which is the right call. He should definitely be the top guy in the company. He can get that win back over Jericho. And because he's starting so behind in the standings, if we can call him that, he's 1-2. But he's a long way to go. So he can spend 6 months getting wins, building himself back up. Jericho can turn away a few challengers. Maybe at Double or Nothing next year. Or even later, All Out next year. He can take that title from Jericho. To me, that makes sense. That's where I see this going. Others have espoused that as well, so it's not my original idea. But we'll wait and see. Next, we had the Cracker Barrel Clash, which is a hell of a name, between Jimmy Havoc, Joey Janela, and Darby Allin. Oh, Pac beat Kenny Omega. I don't know if I said that. Pac beat Kenny Omega. We had Havoc, Janela, and Allin in that triple threat match. This match was fucking crazy. Tons of crazy shit happened, particularly Darby Allin doing that coffin drop off the top rope, through the barrel, onto the steel steps. I don't know how that man is going to make it to 40 with some of these crazy bumps he does, but fuck. Also, the monkey flip onto Joey Janela while he was still sitting in the steel chair was awesome. The skateboard with the tacks on the bottom of it were awesome. It was a crazy fucking match. Jimmy Havoc got the win. Finally, his first win in this company. So because of the alternating wins, loss, draws for these 3 guys, it really seems like they're going to be like the mid-card. Like they're going to be the faces of the mid-card of this company who are trying to reach up, and the top guys just kind of beat them. And they'll trade wins and losses and draws with each other. But these 3 really feel solidified as the mid-card for the men's singles division in this company. I'm glad Jimmy got a win. I like Jimmy. I'm totally fine with him being a mid-carder, especially to start. I think a year down the road or so, 6 months, maybe longer, doing a progress-like story where he just kind of snaps, turns heel, goes psycho, starts killing motherfuckers, and going after the title. Gets the title, has a heel run. Like, that's something I could see. I think that'd be interesting. I'd like to see that. I don't know about him actually getting the title part. I don't even know if I would like that, but I would like him to have a main event angle at some point in the next, 12 to 24 months. Where he just kind of snaps, turns heel, gets super psycho, and maybe challenges for a title, but falls short in the match. If he's challenging a babyface, Maybe on, a TV title defense for Omega after he takes it from Jericho. But anyway, I went 3.5 on this match. Super entertaining, but, not exactly what I'm looking for out of wrestling, but I still really enjoyed it. Next, we had Dark Order defeating Best Friends. Good, solid match. I went 3.5. My official stance, based on what I see with my own eyes, what I hear other people saying on the Dark Order, is that they're good wrestlers, but the gimmick's just not getting over. So I don't know what that means you do with them, but this was a solid match. Like I said, 3.5, nothing special. Next, we have Riho defeating Hikaru Shida in a good match that really picked up speed down the stretch. I am surprised Riho won. Particularly and mainly because she dropped the fall in the tag match at Fight for the Fallen. She had been featured in all the shows up to that. She was undefeated at that point at Fight for the Fallen, and then she ate the fall in the tag match, and then she wins the match to qualify for the title match. Why couldn't she have just, pinned Nakajima in the last match? I don't know why that wasn't the option. Especially if she was even going to be in this match. Even if you didn't know she was going to win, you probably knew she was going to be in this match. I don't know why they had her eat the pin. To me, that makes no sense. I don't get it. Maybe they're already trying to set up a challenger. Maybe Riho will beat Nyla Rose, be the first champion. Nakajima will come back and be like, "Something, motherfucker, I pinned you in a tag match. I want a title shot." So, that could be a thing. If that's what it ends up being, then I get it. If that's not what happens, then Riho losing that tag match was dumb. So this is one of the situations we'll have to do wait and see. And again, AEW has a lot of goodwill with how they've booked the company so far. So until they destroy that goodwill, which I hope they don't, they will get the benefit of the doubt from me. Hikaru Shida is someone that's moving to America, signed full-time with the company. She seemed like someone that I felt they were going to build the women's division around and the women's title around, along with Britt Baker and Kylie Ray, who's obviously they're not anymore. And Nyla Rose. I guess I should have known Nyla Rose's win was coming. She's been so featured for this company, which is fine. She's fine. I just think there are people better suited for that spot. So, surprised Shida didn't get the win for that sense, but maybe again they're telling a longer-term story with her. They know they have her for a while, so maybe they feel like they can, get around to her winning the title in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, and focus on Riho now. Because Riho originally only signed for a 5-show deal, I believe that has been expended, not sure on that. So, I went 3.5 on this as well, which in thinking about it might be a little low. Maybe it's 3 3/4, but nonetheless, good match that I enjoyed. Next, we had Cody Rhodes defeating Shawn Spears in a very Cody match with tons of interference, shenanigans, very, very pro wrestling, but tons of heat. Say what you will about Cody, in big matches like this, he knows all the gimmicks and tricks to use to get tons of heat. And relied a lot on outside gimmickry. But, it works, because most other matches don't. They use gimmicks in the sense of, it's a, the Cracker Barrel Clash, or the ladder match, or whatever the fuck. But, Cody relies on a lot of outside interference and angles and shit, and it works. When other matches aren't doing that, it works for Cody matches. So, I popped huge for the Arn Anderson cameo. Sounded like everyone in the crowd did, too. He got, the biggest fucking pop on the night. Which isn't true. It might be true. I'd have to go back and listen. He got a big pop. So I enjoyed it. Cody got the win, which I felt a little surprised at, I guess, when it happened. And, it's I guess that's over. Was kind of the feeling I got when it ended. I wonder what they do with Shawn Spears going forward. Maybe he was always meant to be a good hand and eventually transition into a coach. And even though that was the plan, they did this angle. And now's the perfect time to pivot into that role. So, which, if that was always the plan, and they just kind of used this angle to pivot off to it to get, a hot match for this pay-per-view, makes sense, get it, it worked. It worked. I went 4 stars on it because of the emotion. Yeah, I'll stand by 4 stars on that. Next, we had Lucha Brothers defeating the Young Bucks to retain the AAA tag titles in a crazy fucking ladder match. Jesus goddamn Christ. I loved this match. Please go watch this match. This match was insane. It was incredible. I don't know what to say about it, other than there are a shit ton of crazy spots, and me just sitting here listing them isn't going to do any good. Please go watch this match. Please go watch this match. You don't have to like it. No one has to like anything in pro wrestling. But you can't deny, this is where a lot of pro wrestling has gone and is going. And this is just kind of the way the business is. You don't have to like it, but if you deny it, you're just kind of wrong. I went 4 3/4 on this ladder match. Thought it was nuts. Fucking loved it. Main event, we had Chris Jericho defeating Hangman Adam Page to become the first ever AEW World Champion. I thought this match was too slow. And maybe a little too long. The crowd was tired, and I've heard people talk about this since, especially following the ladder match, and with how long the show was as a whole. So that also contributed to maybe feeling too slow and too long. I didn't think the Hangman's Deadeye should have been kicked out in this match. I'm fine with Hangman losing. In fact, I think that was the right call to have Jericho win. But I don't think kicking out of Page's Deadeye was the smart call. I think I would have preferred that to have been protected a little more. Now, I know objectively this is a good match. Even when I was watching this match live, in my head I was like, I know this is a good match, but I'm just not liking it. show was too long. The match before it was insane. I had also watched some of the NXT UK show beforehand, so it was even a longer day of wrestling for me. So I went 3.5 on it when the match was over. Like, in retrospect, I get that it's probably better than that, but that's just how I felt when the match ended, was 3.5. That, like, I know it was good, but it just paced poorly. It felt slow and unexciting. But it was a good match, like, I get that. Jericho's the right call, establishes the title. He's a big name to have on it. Can have everyone chase him. It works. It works for Jericho to be the champ. Plus, like, this company has a lot of baby faces, as others have pointed out. So it kind of works to have a heel champ to chase him, because then he can turn a few away before he passes the title over. So, it works in those regards. Overall, again, I thought this was a very thumbs-up show. In terms of this and the UK TakeOver show, TakeOver show was shorter, so that might be a more enjoyable show overall. But I really liked both of them. Really great weekend of wrestling. I haven't gotten to Royal Quest yet, but I hope to soon, as I mentioned earlier. So, next big thing for AEW is TV. Wednesday, October 2nd. The game's changing here, folks. The wrestling landscape, you might say, is changing. Pun intended. I really like the show. Really look forward. I'm very excited for AEW and hopefully the change they can bring to this business as a whole. Maybe there are too lofty expectations. I got a lot of hope. Anyway, this has been the Wrestling Landscape Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Larson. Thank you so much